So today we're going to look at more graphing. If you remember last time we worked on the problems with graphing with point plotting. All right. And so today we'll go on and we'll have the sections that have the graphing with intercepts and also then the graphing with slope and 1 point. Just wait a second, I have a few more people coming in there. Right. Do make sure that you're doing your notes, listening to the videos and taking your notes before we do these classes. Just seeing the problems on here is not going to be enough for you. And we are still just kind of piloting this software. So I did run across some problems that I probably wouldn't have put on there if I had realized it. But I'm going to tell you how to do them so you won't feel lost because they're not in the notes. So just a heads up on that. All right. So we are in Mod 2, Homework 2, Graphing Equations. And first of all, problem 1 is a problem that really shouldn't be here yet. We don't really look at equation of the line yet, but we will do this one so that you'll be okay to answer your homework. It asks you for the equation of a line with slope of 5 and y-intercept of -5. So from the equation of the line is where you can pick off this information, and that is if you have y isolated. Y equals mx plus b is your form to be able to get your slope off and draw your graph. So y isolated, slope will be the coefficient of the x, and this constant by itself will be the y-intercept. And so they are telling us the slope is 5, so m equals 5, and the y-intercept is -5. So you could probably figure it out here to plug into this form. So y equals 5, and x is part of the equation, plus a -5. They will not want two signs together, so just put in a -5. This will be the answer, which is the equation of the line. But in your other notes, there are not any notes about equation of the line yet. Okay. So there's the answer rather than me typing it. I didn't see anything weird typing it there. Okay. Any question there? Right? You guys stop me if you have a question. All right, I'm going to skip problem 2. You would graph it yourself with this one, and if the y is isolated, you would graph it with this slope and y-intercept. But we'll go on down to somewhere we can graph it ourselves. So graph it yourself and then match up to these choices. Right, here's one we can graph ourselves. So problem number 3, still thinking about those multiple choice. All right, they are giving us this equation, y equals 2/5 x plus 3. Okay, so it does have y isolated, so you can read off your slope and your y-intercept. So your slope will be 2/5, and the 3 will give your y-intercept, which is a point. The x-coordinate is 0. So 0, 3. when you're going to graph with that, you always plot the point first and count with your slope. So we need to use the line tool, and we have to do the point first. So 0, 3, we are here, and then we're going to count with slope. So numerator is vertical change, so this is vertical over horizontal. So we're going to go up 2. It's positive, so up. And this is positive. This will be left or right. Denominator's left or right. So it would be to the right, 5. Right. So from our point, we're going to count up 2. Don't make a point. Go across 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click. Now you have your line. And I'm going to submit this to make sure I'm not doing anything wrong with the software. All right. Let's try another one. Right, this is one where you're going to have to isolate and get your information off. It's telling you to graph with this technique. So, because it's saying click on the y-intercept and then click on the next point of the graph using your slope. So, we have to do some algebra first. So we have 3x plus 5y equals 20. And we're going to graph it, so we're going to move it around. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Right? And it's easier to do than it is to write. So 5y equals 20 minus 3x. Right? And then I'm going to divide out the 5. When you work with lines, divide it under each piece. We did not do that with formulas. But it works better for lines. So this gives us 4, right? And you can pull your coefficient away from the x. So minus 3/5 x. Right? Now you can read off your information. It's okay that this is turned around a little bit. Your slope will be coefficient of the x. So m equals negative 3/5. Right, and this 4 will give your y-intercept. It's okay that we're backwards. Right, now we'll go to draw the graph. So we had to do algebra first. So we will click the graph tool, the line tool. You want 4 on the y-axis, y-intercept. Right, this is a negative on the numerator, so we're going to go down 3 and then over to the right 5 when we count. So start at this point, go down 3, 1, 2, 3, over to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and click. Check. All right, so that was 4. All right, 5 is a different kind of question. Okay, this one is giving us the graph, and they want us to identify the x and y intercepts. So this is different than slope. We were using slope with the others. The intercepts are the points where the graph crosses the x and y axis. And so the x-intercept is going to be here at 12. So it's, let me use my mouse so you can see where I'm looking at the 12 on the x-axis. And so it will be 12, 0. You always have 0 in the opposite one when you're getting them to land on the axes, right? Your y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis, and so it is this 8, but your x is 0. And there's our answers. Right. 6 is a different kind of question. This one, notice you only have one variable, and I think we graphed some of these with the point plotting. If we didn't, we could have, because that's how I would graph it here. If you only have one variable, it's a special kind of equation. And in case you forget which it is, because it's easy to forget, make yourself a little table. The x has to be 3 for all your points, and you're only going to get to click 2 points. Your y can be anything, and you don't have to do any math. So we'll just say 0, 1, 2. Right? And so then we'll try to graph. So we click on the line tool, and we're going to do 3, 0, and we're going to click. And then we'll do 3, 1, and click. So this is a vertical line. So if it's x equals some constant, it will be a vertical line. So these questions, they kind of are bouncing all over the place. This one is intercepts again. Identify the intercepts from the picture, so it's similar to the one before the last one. Right, and so it's the points where the graph crosses the x or y axis. So x-intercept is going to be at 1, so it is 1, 0. And it is the point right here. Hopefully that will show up my mouse for you guys. And the y-intercept will be this point. So it is over 0, down 1. And they can ask you just for it and not want an ordered pair, or they might want ordered pairs. They want the ordered pair here, so if you just put for the x-intercept 1, they would mark it wrong. But they are saying ordered pair in the directions. So we'll click in the box. You can use this little shortcut down here, the double parentheses. Okay, that will set you up, and you'll do y. You have to enter the comma 0. And we'll click here, so that one's good. And y-intercept, click in the box, and I have to go up some to get, it's not going to give me the template. Okay. So I can type the parentheses from the keyboard. Which is, that should clear out in a minute. 0, comma, negative 1. Okay, I don't know why it did not give me the little template. But we got the answers right. Okay. Question 8 is giving us the equation and wants us to find the intercepts. So to find the intercepts, you plug in 0. Remember how we got 0 in one of those? And you plug it in the opposite one of the one that you want. So we have negative 2x plus 4y equals negative 8. And you can even do it as a little table, right? X-intercept is going to get 0 in the y spot. Right, so we're going to plug 0 into y. So we have negative 2x plus 4 times 0 equals negative 8. The nice thing here is it will wipe that piece out. So you have negative 2x equals negative 8, and you will divide by negative 2. So we get x equals a positive 4. And that is the first answer. They want x-intercept. I'll wait to plug stuff in. All right, now the next answer they want is the y-intercept. And you put 0 into x. So we have negative 2 times 0 plus 4y equals negative 8. This one will cross off, so that makes it nice. 4y equals negative 8 divided by 4. And so you get y equals negative 2. That's enough to draw the graph when you have intercepts. Intercepts, you have a built-in check because you know they're supposed to land on the x or y axis. Right, so we would click, let's see if it gives us the template again. No, it is not giving us the template. So they said write as ordered pairs. That means you have to do the parentheses on there. Okay, so x-intercept is 4, 0, close. Y-intercept is 0, negative 2, close. Right, and then we're going to draw the graph with those. So we'll go down, try to keep it all on my screen. Do your line tool, and you're going to go over to 4, 0. So it does land on your axis, that's what it's supposed to do. And you're going to do 0, negative 2. So don't go over, go down 2. Y-intercept lands on the y-axis, and we're good there. So we'll submit, right, and it liked all of our answers. So that was an intercept question. Intercepts are nice to graph with when your x and y are on the same side, because when you plug in those zeros, it wipes one of them out. So it makes the math easy. All right. They are switching back here to talking about slope of a line. And to find the slope, basically there are 3 ways to find slope. You can find slope if you have the picture by looking at 2 points and counting. You can find slope if you have the equation, and we did that earlier, y equals mx plus b. And the last way to find slope is a formula, and I'm not sure if we do that now. It is when you're given 2 points and no picture, no equation. So it's with a formula. So 3 ways to find slope. All right, so here they are giving us the picture, and they want us to find the slope. You need 2 points that hit at corners of the boxes, so you have them to count from. I can't mark on the software, so it'll be a little hard. So you have to watch my mouse, all right? And so I'm going to use this point right here because it's at the corners. You want corners because you want to move a whole unit, right? And we're going to do vertical movement over horizontal movement, okay? And that will be slope. So if I start here, and I'm going to move down to this one right here. Okay, so any points that hit at the corners. So vertical movement, I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4. That lines up with the other one I said. So I went down 4. Down is negative. All right, I'm going to go back there again. So this is where I started. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go across to the right 1. To the right is positive, to the left would be negative. And I hit the line again at a corner. Right? So I can clean this up, and my answer to slope is -4. So they want us to match. So we're going to do this drop down, and we would pick the -4. Now, a clever test taker or a clever problem taker could have saved themselves a little work here. There are 4 ways for slope to look. It can be positive, and positive will go up as it goes right. It can be negative. This one is a negative because as you go to the right, it goes down, and that's the only negative choice in there is -4. But I would just count it. Right. This one gives you a positive slope. There were 2 positives in there, so we'll have to count it. So we want to pick points where it hits at the corners. And I see a point here that's at a corner. And this one right here looks pretty solid. All right. So I'm going to do vertical over horizontal. So, and let me switch. Maybe if I do red here, it'll show up better. It's not going to show my color. All right. So I said I was going to start here at this point. So I'm at 4, -2. And I'm going to move up to 0, 1. All right. So first of all, I'm going to line up with it. So I'm going to move up. Don't count where you are. 1. All right. 1, 2, 3 spaces I went up. So that is going to be positive because I went up from here. 1, 2, 3. I've lined up with that point. Now I'm going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the right is positive. So that slope is 3/4. For every 3 you go up, you go over 4. Right, this one is also a positive slope. These points are a little easier to see. I'll use this one and this one. So if I start here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, up 3. So we'll move it again, up 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to the right 1 to hit the line again, and that will simplify to 3. And it is a positive slope because it goes up as it goes to the right. So we're going to choose 3. Right, and I'm not going to do the other one. So it's going to mark me partially wrong because I didn't answer. So 0.75 out of 1. So I had those first ones right, but I didn't do the last one. If you know some about slope, it will help you with some of this. Otherwise, you would your approach would be graph it yourself and then match it to these lines. I'm going to do just a little bit of them. One thing for slope, you have 4 cases, and we mentioned positive slope and negative slope. Positive slope goes up as you go right. So, what question are we on? Question 10. So, there are 2 lines here with positive slope. B has a positive slope. G has a positive slope. All right, 2 of them have negative slopes. R and P. They go down as you go right. For your special cases, vertical or horizontal, a horizontal line has a 0 slope, A vertical line, which we don't have on here, straight up and down, is an undefined slope. So that's your 4 cases. All right, so so here's our equations, and I'm going to try not to draw this. I don't want to draw 5 graphs without a grid. The one that is the easiest there is your special line, and it is going to be y equals 1. Right? So this one is going to be k. Okay, so black, A. Right? And the intercepts could be helpful here. Right, so if you're drawing this one, you've got a -1 intercept, right? And a negative slope. So this choice has -1 intercept and a negative slope. So -1 intercept is right here. You've got 2 lines that are doing that. The one that has the negative slope is R. Right? It goes down as it goes right. So we didn't really graph it ourselves. We played the game, right? So a -1 for the intercept, that's helpful information. So your B, because it's in y equals mx plus b. So -1, and then I had a negative slope, so that narrowed it on down. So the red line, D, is my choice here. This one, let me just mention this one for a little bit if I'm looking at it. So we're going to play the game rather than draw the pictures and match up. So -x plus 4. Your slope on this one is -1. If you don't see a number in front of that x, remember it is a 1. So your slope is -1. Your y-intercept is 4. All right, so let's find a 4 for a y-intercept. 1, 2. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the y-intercept, and again we have 2 choices here. One of them has a positive slope, the other has a negative. Our slope is negative, so we are going to be the purple line for this one. And 2 more. All right, this one has the y-intercept of 4, so we're at the same place here, and it has a positive slope, so the blue line has the positive slope. This purple had a negative slope, so blue line would be the answer to this one, which is E. Right, and that only leaves one out, which is C. Let's see if it matches. Also, your form here, your coefficient of x is going to be +1. Right, so your M here is +1. There is no number in front. And your y-intercept is -1. So, on your picture, you would look at -1, and your slope is positive, so that tells you have to do line G. Too many letters. All right, C is the choice. All right. Sorry, that took a long time. Okay. I'm not going to work this one all the way out because it's similar math to something we did earlier. I'm just going to give you one hint on it to start. Change the form of this. You're going to find intercepts which means you're going to plug in 0. You're going to plug into the x and you're going to plug it into y. The time when it's nice is when you have x and y on the same side and nothing else there. You can move that 4 over. So 2x minus 2y equals negative 4. Then you're going to plug in your zeros. You have to remember x-intercept gets 0 in the y, and y-intercept gets 0 in the x. So this is just a hint to start, and then x-intercept, you're going to put 0 in the y, and then do the math. Y-intercept, you're going to put 0 in the x. Okay. Get those two, and then draw the graph. So I'm going to skip that, but that was your hint. And it looks like we went rolling really fast. Okay, 12. This is also really a question that shouldn't be on here because it's asking you for the equation. So it's asking you to go backwards here. For your special lines, a vertical line, so I'm just telling you this. I'm going to make sure these are not on the test. But for your vertical line, it is the form x equals some number. So x equals a constant is a vertical line. And so you just find out, well, what is that number? It's negative 3. X equals negative 3 and any y. So x equals negative 3 is this one. And you have to have the x there. If they're asking equation, it is the whole thing. Okay. And then this one is the other special line, right? It is horizontal, and a horizontal line is y equals some constant. And that's always true. So this will be y equals 4. Y is 4 all across that line. And for your equation, you would need the whole thing. You guys doing okay? All right, I don't see chat, so I will assume you are. All right, and we did one of these earlier. It's kind of skipping around all over the place. It is a special line, and so I would do it by a little table. Your y is negative 2 on all your points. Any x you want. So 0, 1, 2. You can only plot 2 of them. All right. So line tool, 0, negative 2, and 1, negative 2. So I was just going to show you, but I actually did it all. Okay. This one, it's going to be a special line. I'm not going to do it all. But what will help you to graph it, and you know it's special even though it doesn't have something isolated, isolate that y. So move the 2 to the other side, y equals negative 2. Then graph it. Okay, so then make your table. So I'll just put dots. We're not going to finish it. Okay, we can look at the answer if you want. Okay, horizontal line. All right, this one is wanting us to do slope from the picture. We did a few of these a while ago, but these are specifically the special lines. So a horizontal line has 0 slope. Right? A vertical line has undefined slope. If you tried to count 2 points on it, you get a 0 in the denominator, and 0 in the denominator is never allowed. So you want to say undefined, and they will use DNE, does not exist. That's what they will use for undefined. Right, so your first one is horizontal. This will be a 0 slope. Vertical will be undefined, so you're going to say DNE, and you just type those letters on your keyboard. Right, this is another intercept question, so I'm going to skip that one. We did that before. You just find it from your graph. You don't have to do it algebraically. They gave you the picture. Right, 18. This is one that is asking you to draw the graph. It doesn't specify how. And I would choose myself to do this one with slope and 1 point. The reason is because y is isolated. So it's you choose. You could do a table. I would not do intercepts on this one because the math will be too much work, right? But to graph it with slope, you can pick it off. Slope will be coefficient of the x. Y-intercept is -1. So remember, you do your point first, so click your graph tool. We were on there. -1 on the y, so y-intercept. All right, your slope is 2. You want it like a fraction to move, so up 2 and over 1 from this point. So don't count the point you're going on. So we're going up 1, 2, over 1. Now click, and that should be good. That's the easiest way to graph. If you can get that information easily off of what you have, then that's the easiest way to graph. Right, this one is asking you to write the equation of the line. It is the horizontal one, and that would be y equals, and this is -4. So y equals -4. So that way you know how to do it when you do your homework. This one is just asking us to draw the graph. You can do it with the slope and the y-intercept. Just a little hint on it. Y equals 2/5 x. And it says use slope and y-intercept. It's the proper form. Y is isolated. Your slope is 2/5. But usually your y-intercept is your constant, which you don't have. So if you don't have it, the only number that could be there is 0. So your y-intercept is 0. So it's going to be at the origin. We might as well draw it. But that's the hint. This one didn't show that. So you're going to go up 2 units and over 5. Click, and there's your graph. Right, I'm going to skip this one because we've done several. It is in the slope-intercept form. 1 is your y-intercept. Your slope is 3/5. Plot the y-intercept first. Go up 3 over 5. It's a nice question. This one wants you to use intercepts, right? Intercepts, make yourself a table and plug in zeros. They've helped you a little bit. It's just a matter of them switching back and forth all over the place. Okay. So 22. So watch the words. It says graph with the intercepts. This would be a good choice for intercepts anyway, because x and y are on the same half. right? I would do it as a table. They started you with kind of a table. X-intercept, they're telling you put the 0 in the y, solve, and then put the 0 in the x. So you're just going to plug in, and then you're going to graph those. So I'm going to skip it. Right, this one they're not giving you the hints, but it is a really good one to do that way. I'll do this one with you since they didn't lead. Right, the reason it's good for intercepts is because x and y are on the same half. So good for intercepts. Right, so do a little table, and you'll pick 0 for one, and then you'll switch and pick it for the other. Right, so if we pick 0 for y, we have x plus 0 equals negative 3. This is gone, so we get x equals negative 3. Right, then we switch. We go back to the beginning, and we're going to pick a 0 for x. So if we pick a 0 for x, then it will wipe out and y will be negative 3. Now, these are different points because of where they are. So order matters. They are going to land on the x and y axis. So first of all, negative 3, 0 will be here. And then 0, negative 3. So don't go over, but go down 3. And we'll check. Right, so that one was intercepts. Right, this one says sketch a graph. I just told you that intercepts was good for this. This one is not going to turn out nice for intercepts because you're going to get a fraction. Let me show you so it doesn't make you. So that would make me do a different choice because I'm doing it on the computer. You could certainly show a fraction easily the other way, but I have 3x plus y equals negative 4. If I try intercepts, because x and y are on the same half, put 0 for one and then switch and put 0 for the other. If you put 0 for the y, this is the one that's going to give you a fraction. This goes out. You have 3x equals negative 4. Divide by 3. That is going to be hard to make graph on there, and you probably wouldn't get it right with the tool. So I would ditch this method. The other point's okay. All right, 0 into x is going to wipe it out, and so it will be y equals negative 4. But because of the fraction and drawing it on the computer, I would ditch this method. So if we go back to the original, let's isolate the y. Then we can do it with slope. So to get y by itself, we'll just move the 3x. So we have y equals, so it'll be a negative 3x to get to the other side. Minus 4. If you put minus 4 minus 3x, that's fine. Now we can do it with slope. Or you could plug in and not get fractions. All right, so let's do it with slope. So my y-intercept is negative 4, 0, negative 4. My slope is negative 3, and I'll put it over 1. To graph. If you're just answering slope, you don't put that 1 there. If you're going to use it, you need it over 1. All right, so do the y-intercept first. And, okay, I'm going to have to do a trick here. Right, because I would go off the grid, right, I can't count down 3 and over 1. But I only have one negative. I can choose where to put that negative. So I'm moving with these. I have to have it top or bottom. Let's switch and put it on the bottom. Okay, because going down 3 takes me off the grid. So that's why I'm doing this. All right. So now I'm going to go down up 3, and I'm going to go to the left one from my point. So I've still got my point, and I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the left one, and click. It gives the same line. That's a nice trick to know about. Right, so we had to try a few things there. The 25 is easy to do with slope. Your y-intercept is 0. So 0, go up 1 over 2. Make your second point. Right, I'm not going to bother. All right, don't freak out when you see something that looks like a word problem. This one is really just describing a situation to you. Right, it says Superman is swooping down to save Lois at a rate of 4 miles per second. And rate is really going to be your slope, right? He starts 16 miles from her, and they're giving you the equation y equals negative 4x plus 16. So he's starting 16 miles. That's going to be your y-intercept. And he's swooping down, so that's a negative 4 miles per second, right? So your slope is going to be your rate. You don't have to know all that. That's free, okay? They're giving you the equation. We're going to graph it. The tricky little piece on this graph is your scale. So you have to watch these scales. They are different than normal. They're not 1 and 1. So we will graph it with our y-intercept is 16. Our slope is negative 4, and we will make it a fraction. So plot your y-intercept first. So do your line tool. Y-intercept is going to be on the y-axis, which is here. So there's my 16. I'm going to go down 4. Now be careful on this y-axis. Your unit here, what each one of those tick marks is, that's 2. And this is another 2. So that's down 4. Now I want to go over to the right 1. Right? A tick mark is 2. Whoops, I didn't want it to do that. All right. A tick mark would move it over 2. So we want to only go over a half. All right, so I have to go down move my down 4 again. All right, so this is 2, and that makes 4, and I'm only going to go half, and I have to click there. But it kind of helped me. So a half is something you probably can graph. So don't freak out with the word problem. But that is kind of how it meant. This is where Superman starts. He's swooping down, and he's going down 4 miles for every second. Okay. Down 4 for every second. So that is a model there. And we'll do one more. This one also already gives you the equation. All right, it says, when you arrive at the family reunion, Uncle Anderson has already eaten too many hot dogs. He continues to eat them at a rate of 5 hot dogs per minute. Wonder if that's supposed to say mini, M-A-N-Y, or mini. Tiny hot dogs. Okay, he continues to eat them at a rate of 5 hot dogs per minute. That rate is your slope, which you see here. And he's already eaten, so your starting point is 2. Right? They just want you to do the graph. So he had already eaten the 2. That's your starting point. This is your y-intercept. Your slope, which is your rate, is 5 over 1. So again, watch your scale. Let's get down and get our graph tool. So we'll go here and we'll do the y-intercept, which is 2. We'll click there and we want to go up 5, but these are in terms of 2. So there's 2, 4. We have to just go halfway, and we want to move only over 1, so we're just going to go halfway and click. All right. Question 28 is just having you look at the slope and tell if it's positive or negative from the direction of the line. So your first one, okay, it's deeper than that. I thought it was just doing that. All right, it wants slope less than 0. All right, so we'll think about this one. We'll turn that into a 28. It didn't start good. Okay, so they want slope less than 0, which means slope is negative. And they want b is less than 0, means your y-intercept is negative. All right, and so first let's look at the y-intercept that's negative. All right, this one has a positive y-intercept, this one has a negative y-intercept, and this one has a negative y-intercept. So these two have a negative y-intercept, and they want a negative slope. This last one has a negative slope and a negative y-intercept. So it will be your choice. All right. So that takes care of that section. You actually had 2 sections here to do. And I'll start the other one. I don't know that I'll finish it, but I will come back to it. All right, so give me just a minute to switch sections. So this will be Mod 2 Homework 3. And this section is talking about functions. So in your notes, you did have some talk about functions. You can look at functions different ways. You can look at functions from a picture, a set of ordered pairs, or from an equation. So they're giving us a picture. In the definition, and this says 3 and 4. That's matching it to our old stuff. Okay. So tell if it's a function. From the picture, you're going to use a vertical line test. The vertical line cannot hit in more than one point. That would make the x repeat. That goes with your definition of function. For every x, it has to have a different y. So x cannot go with 2 different ones. So the x cannot repeat. Right? So with these, it's going to be vertical line test. And so you're just going to look at it. You can blow these pictures up if you need to. The first one is a function. You look at it and see, is there any place I can draw a vertical line and it's going to hit in more than one place? So this one is a function. We'll click it. All right. This one is a function. All lines except one are functions. Only a vertical line itself is not a function. Right. This one is not a function. I can't draw on there, but you could draw vertical lines all over the place that would hit 2 points, right? Because it would hit the top of that ellipse and the bottom. So that one is not a function. This one is not a function because a vertical line, it would hit more points there, it would hit 3. But if it hits more than 1, it's not a function. So we're not going to check those. This one is a function. This one comes from trigonometry. It's a periodic function. Okay. And a horizontal line is a function because you can draw vertical lines and never hit more than once. Okay. So those ones I checked are the functions. These two are not because they failed the vertical line test. Right. The next question, right, says the set of all possible outputs for a function. Right, so your function has things that go in and things that come out. And I'm not sure I talked about that in your other videos, but all possible outputs right, so you're going to have f of x equals blah, 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 something here, right? Your outputs are your range. Your inputs are the domain. X goes with domain. So outputs are the range. Range goes with Y. So the set of all outputs is range. So I don't think you saw that in my stuff before. This notation, this is called function notation. So, and the way you say this, so f of x equals something, blah, blah, blah. F of x is the same, and you say this as f of x, not f times x. F of x. F of x is the same as y. So if you get stuck, you can answer that, right? And so the notation itself is called function notation. Right. So, if we had a list of ordered pairs, I think that's probably what I showed you in your notes. To be a function, x cannot repeat. So, this is just table format instead of ordered pairs. So this has 3, 5, 10, 6, 11, 6, right? We just have to make sure x does not repeat, right? And this is 3, 10, and 11. Those are all different. So the first table is good. This is 3, 10, 11. That one's good. This one is not a function because the 10 repeats. So it is not a function. And that's all you're looking at with those. This one just switched the way the tables go. Same exact kind of question. X cannot repeat. So we're going to say 4 and 5 here for the notes. You just look down through there. Okay? That one's a function. Right? This one is not. Your 2 is repeating. This one is not. Your 2 is repeating. This one looks okay. Last one looks okay. So it looks like we have 2 there that are okay. All right, so that is looking at a table. X can't repeat. Right, this is vertical line test again, which I will skip. So we did one of those. All right, now they are asking us to give the domain and range. Domain is all the X coordinates, range is the Y coordinates, and it does not have to be a function to answer domain and range. For the function, you will go with X can't repeat. All right, so we have for domain, we want all the X's. So 9, 8, 7, and 6. And they did not repeat. So that's going to be the, it is going to be a function. All right, they just put it in numerical order, which I should have done, but it's fine. They would not count what I have wrong. All right. Your range is going to be your Y coordinates. Right? The Y is the same all the way across. You only need to write it one time. Will be -4. We don't care if the Y repeats. So it's going to be -4. This one is a function because X does not repeat. Yes, it is a function. X does not repeat. All right, and I marked in that. It's going to mark me wrong for 2/3 of it. That one I got right, okay, because that's the only one I answered. Okay, 8 is the same kind of question, so do the same kind of work. Right, this is a little harder. Right, you are going to pick, find the domain and the range of this picture. So they're giving you the picture. So domain, remember, is how does it act going across. So you want to look at the leftmost part of that graph, and this one has points, so it stops. So the leftmost point of this graph is, and you want the X coordinates, is -3. You're touching it, so you're going to want a bracket. Now you want to see how does it act going toward the right. The rightmost point is 2, but it has an open circle, so you're not going to touch it. You're going to go all the way up to it, all these fractions in between, but you're not going to touch that. Right? And we can type those in. Let's look at range from the picture. Right? It does have a solid lowest point. These don't have arrows to mean they go forever. So your lowest point, and you look at the y-axis for your range. So -5, and you are touching it. Right? You just want to know how low. It's low to high. So -5, you're touching it. And you're going up to 4 is the highest point, and you're also touching that one. Okay. So to put those in, let's do interval. So they'll give us the notation. You have to watch if you pick this. So I have brackets to parentheses on my first one. And I'm going to do -3. You could have typed it with your keyboard also. And 2, right, my range, I want brackets to brackets. So I need interval to be able to do that. Brackets to brackets is the second choice. -5, comma, 4. And we'll submit. All right, we'll see if we can do a couple more, and then we'll stop. We're at 5 after. So I did 9. So 10 is one of those where you're choosing the set of all inputs. What you put in is X. You plug in X. So this is going to be a domain. The inputs are domain, what you put in. Okay, this one is similar to before. It's asking us domain and range. I'm going to see if I can find a different kind of picture, but I want to answer some more of those because that tends to be a hard skill. This one is going to be a function because of the vertical line test. So from the picture, always do vertical line test. Tricky thing on this, what they want you to graph here, they are telling you S of X equals X, and you're trying to figure it out. Remember, when you're doing a function of something, F of X or S of X or H of X, this is Y. Y equals X is what you want to graph. And this is a special line called the identity. It just says that the X and the Y are always equal. So I would graph it first before I tried to answer these. You're going to need 3 points. Right, but whatever you put in for X, the Y is the same. We better do this one. Okay. Let's click here, line tool. And so I said we're going to do 0, 0. You only have to put 2 of them. 0, 0, 1, 1. Right, it always goes through the origin. All right, now we want to answer domain and range from the picture, right? And this one, because it goes all the way to the edge, it doesn't have the arrows, but that means it goes forever. It doesn't have a closed or open point there. And so domain is how does it act going to the left? It goes forever to the left, right? That is to negative infinity. Right? How does it act going to the right? This piece is the part going to the right. This piece up here, it goes forever to the right. So your domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. And click in here, interval notation, parentheses, parentheses. You have to put negative infinity first. Right, then you need a comma, positive infinity. Right, and then we'll do range. Then we'll stop, okay? All right, so range on this one is lowest to highest. So look at this piece that's going down. It goes down forever. When you write it, you're talking about coming from the bottom to the top, or lowest to highest. So the lowest is negative infinity. The highest is going to be positive infinity. It goes forever. So we'll practice again with our switch to interval notation. You could have done the other, but you would have to do a little extra work. All right, so parentheses, parentheses, negative infinity, comma, positive infinity, and one more question on here. Is it a function? Yes, it is a function. There's no place you can draw a vertical line that crosses more than once. So, yes, it is a function. All right. So, I'm going to stop there, and I'll make a note that I stopped at question 12 on this one, and we will come back to it next time. So I hope you have a great day. Work on these. If you find you have any questions on problems that you go, it is certainly fine to make requests, and I will try to show your problem. Okay? All right, guys. Have a great day.